Welcome to What You Need to Grow, the podcast where entrepreneurs discover the inspiration and perspective shifts that fuel both personal and business growth. Each week, certified professional coach Jenny Bellinger brings you powerful conversations with thought leaders, subject matter experts, and innovative company leaders who share their stories of growth and the tools that made it possible. From fresh insights that expand your vision to resources you can explore on your own journey, every episode is designed to help you grow your knowledge, grow your vision, and grow your business. Now, here's your host, Jenny Bellinger.
Welcome to another episode of What You Need to Grow. I'm your host, Jenny Bellinger, and today's guest is Michael Babcock. He has 5 years experience in the insurance industry and recently stepped into a leadership role in his family agency where he helps business owners protect their most important investment. Michael is right at the helm of Babcock Insurance and Financial Services, which is located just outside of St. Louis in the U.S., where he helps business owners guard their business with smarter commercial insurance solutions. He blends decades of legacy expertise with fresh energy and sharp humor. If you've ever thought that insurance is dry, Michael is here to prove you wrong. I promise you guys, I've known him for quite a few years. He's great. Get ready for no fluff insights, a little bit of attitude, probably from me, and the kind of strategy that keeps your business safe and your growth unstoppable. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks, Jenny. Super excited to be here. Super excited to talk about just kind of the new startup business space and also just ways that we've seen growth in our agency and ways that we can help potentially other people grow as well. And also, I know I've told you this probably before in our B&I group, but got the perfect podcast voice. So it's like, I wonder how I sound to people on a podcast. Because if I sound anything like Jenny, I'm doing great. If I don't sound like Jenny, then I probably need to work on it. So,
well, it's something you develop over time, right? Because if you go back to my first episodes on my first podcast, I probably don't have as much of the same podcast voice as I do now. And certainly, there's the voice that shows up in the intro versus the rest of the conversation, right? So you and I, you've already indicated we met through B&I. So many of my listeners are very familiar with the fact that B&I is a big part of business growth because I've already invited Ivan and he's been on the show before. So that's how you and I met. But how did you get into the commercial insurance space?
Yeah. So I'm going to hit on two things, I guess, here. So commercial insurance, I actually came from commercial banking for 5 years prior to jumping into commercial insurance. That was my first job out of college that ran pretty much through COVID. And then COVID happened. And actually, the company I was with, Pacific Western Bank at the time, they decided that our security alarm lending department, they didn't like that space anymore. They said, all right, well, we're cutting you off. That was like literally probably a month or so before COVID. And they gave my side of the department a year kind of runway to manage the portfolio and kind of figure out what to do. And then COVID happened. And so I ended up working from home and I kind of needed to figure out what I was going to do next. I talked to my dad. We had kind of kicked around the idea before. And I was like, what if I just, do my job from the bank at the office and then also kind of try to start up this portfolio for myself on the commercial insurance side at the same time and, was able to manage all my responsibilities. So it wasn't a big deal, but also like it really was allowed me to kind of launch into it. It was a weird time to launch into it. Obviously, It was hard to meet with business owners, but could catch a lot of them by the phone, did a lot of cold calls up front. And then it was probably like 1 or 2 years into the commercial insurance space where I met Terry Denias outside Northside Dairy Haven. Northside Dairy Haven?
Yeah.
That's one of the best ice cream places probably in the Metro East. And we were just talking in line and she's like, you need to come to my B&I group. And you know her, she's like the nicest, like nobody can say a mean word about Terry because you'd feel like a horrible person if you did. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll check this out. I'm looking for ways to network and again, joined during COVID. So we were meeting online at that time. But got introduced to you obviously. And my first podcast was actually from an introduction from you.
Nice.
So this is the third one I've done, and I think they've gone well. I've enjoyed them, and seems like it's a really good way to kind of share knowledge in a conversational way.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I think, I remember you actually coming to visit us for the first time on Zoom and seeing, okay, yay, good, commercial insurance. This is good because as a business coach, that's something that I'm aware people need and
Sure.
business owners need, but I don't know all the things about it. And so I've learned quite a bit in the years that we've been in the group together through our one-to-ones and through what you share during our networking events. So, what is it that you've learned, especially for startups, right? Because this show is really for business owners who are in any stage from startup through scaling. So,
Hmm.
let's start with the startups then. What are
Yep.
the business insurance things that they need to be thinking about or be aware of to make sure that they're protected as they get this business going?
Yeah. So I want to back up on the piece of BNI, and you talked about the expertise piece a little bit. That's
Yeah.
probably one of my favorite parts about our group and just probably other BNI groups as well. You get to lean on people that know more about their stuff than what you would without, having them in your lives. So that's been incredible. And I'm glad that you pulled some stuff away. I've pulled stuff from you and a lot of other people in the group as well. Um, yeah, but for startups and for people that are in that scaling process, especially, so insurance and we were talking about this a little bit on the front end of the podcast before we started. Insurance likes to fit within a box, right?
Yeah.
Especially commercial insurance. The more your business fits inside a box, the easier you're going to find insurance. The more that you can properly define exactly what you do operationally is going to make it easier for your insurance agent that you work with to find you insurance. I'm an insurance broker. It does help that we have multiple outlets that we can go to
Yeah.
for carriers and stuff to allow us to say, hey, this is the exact kind of business that we're working with. I talk to my underwriters. I say, this is what they look like. Is this something that we're able to do? And they'll give me a pretty straightforward answer whether or not we can do it. So the more clearly defined you are, the more you fit within like a very standard box, the easier it is going to be to find you coverage. The more you get outside of a box, and like most insurance agents can tell you, like, hey, that fits our appetite pretty well, or that's outside of our normal appetite. The more you get outside of normal appetite, the more unique of a unicorn you are, the more difficult it might be to find insurance for you. And it's not that you can't get the coverage, it's that it might be a little bit more expensive, or there might be less companies that are willing to write it. And so you really have to lean on your insurance agent in those cases to be able to kind of point you in the right direction of finding that for you. And so, um, for startups in particular, especially difficult operation startups, you can typically expect your insurance premiums to be more expensive than what a normal company in that space would be for the first 3 years. It's about for the first 3 years.
Okay.
Um, and again, if it's a riskier operation, then that tends to be extremely more expensive. And the reason the insurance companies do that is because they don't have any kind of guarantee that the business owner knows exactly what they're doing. They don't have any loss history to go off of.
Right.
They don't have any way to know that they're not going to be unprofitable for them as an insurance carrier, because as much as you want to make money, the insurance company wants to make money too,
Yeah.
right? And so you might have to go through an excess and surplus unit. And if you have to go that way, I say it's called ENS, excess and surplus, but I call it expensive and sucky insurance because it tends to be it tends to be worse coverage, and it tends to be more expensive, and it's less flexible. So the more you can find yourself outside of that space, the happier you'll probably be. And the best ways for you to do that is, in my opinion, and it's difficult for a startup, but in my opinion, you need to get business insurance as quickly as possible. As soon as you start up your business, and especially if your operations are simpler now and you expect them to get more complex. Because the more insurance history you can build up, that what happens is whenever you go to another company, or your independent broker goes to another company, or you go to another agent to quote it, they're going to ask you for something that's called loss history. And what that means is it shows the number of claims you put in, it shows how much those claims have paid out. And as soon as you get about 2 to 3 years, but really 3 years of clean loss history on your books, you have so much more flexibility. You have so much more bargaining power with insurance carriers to get
Right.
your rates down. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I see that is difficult probably for startup businesses because every penny counts, right?
Right.
Whenever you're in that stage. But the more you can budget for that appropriately and make sure you're paying that, the more likely you're going to be able to secure yourself good insurance going forward. And I'd say when you want to scale up is about whenever you're getting those rates knocked down. So you're starting to scale up while your rates are coming down, ideally. Now,
Mm.
obviously the insurance cost is going to be a little bit more potentially if you're selling more, but the cost per $1,000 a sale or the cost per $100 payroll is going to be less than what it was originally. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And I think I think the really cool thing, because I was not aware that it's going to be more expensive at the beginning of a
Yeah.
business versus later. But it does make perfect sense that that's the way that it would be for businesses. So I think it's good, and that's part of why I'm doing this show, is so that
Yep.
people who are in that startup space who are going, "Oh my God, why are my premiums so freaking high right now? I didn't think."
Right.
Like, hello, I'm a newbie. Like, charge me less. But it makes
Yep.
sense because it's more of a risk for the insurance company right now.
Yeah.
But the
And,
nice
and I
thing,
would.
but I think that's
Yeah.
really cool that as they're getting into the point where they're ready to scale,
Right.
their premiums are probably going to start dropping.
Right. And I will say the beautiful thing is if you do fit inside that easy box, you should be able to find affordable coverage because you're not that risky. So like think like if you're working behind a computer most of your day, you
Hmm.
know, it shouldn't be too difficult for you to find insurance. Now, if you're a contractor, it could be
Yeah.
more difficult for you to find insurance. But if you're kind of more along the lines of less risky operations, you should be able to find relatively affordable coverage. It's just once you get into those more risky spaces, it can be a lot for startup companies, especially if you're coming in with the aspiration of having multiple employees under you already, because
Okay.
that's where a lot of the insurance costs scale up. It's sales based and it's payroll based a lot of times.
Okay. And then I would guess also, on the risk for, potential injury or whatever, because I would
Yes.
assume, like, for example, like a general contractor is going to have higher work comp
Yeah.
versus, I don't know, a podcast producer
Yeah.
with a podcast team who sits at
Exactly.
computers. Like, their
Yeah.
workers comp is going to be like carpal tunnel syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. Or like if you're like a podcaster and you're falling down the stairs, well, maybe you shouldn't have maybe you shouldn't be offered work comp insurance at that point anyway. It's like, you know
Right.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
they assume that you're doing things that are not going to be cause you injury, correct?
Right, exactly. And I'm going to put this out there for the whole world. No, I'm not jumping out of planes, so it's all good.
Yeah,
I have no
I wouldn't
desire for
even
that.
want to do that. I am so scared of heights that it's not up my alley by any means.
Oh no, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So you also brought up something that you said that I think is really important, because as somebody who has been networking in the professional world for almost 15 years now, one of the things that I've seen is really important for people to have is that relationship with their insurance agent. That it
Yep.
shouldn't, like, it's so much better for them when they have someone like you who can
Mhm.
go to bat for them versus, good luck getting a human online if you're
Yep.
going with one of those big names that, does advertisements on the Super Bowl,
Correct.
for
Yep.
example, right? So what's the difference then? Because some people, especially startups, may not understand the difference between like an insurance broker, which is what you are,
Yep.
versus I know what they're called, captive agent. So what's the
Mhm.
difference there?
Yeah, so a broker is able to, they have direct contracts with multiple different carriers. And so they're able to represent a business to multiple different carriers all at the same time. So typically you can find best deals for your clients that way because we're not technically fiduciary, but in a way we are. We're able to kind of
Mhm.
advocate on your behalf to find you what's in your best interest. Right. Whereas a captive agent more so they have one insurance carrier that they can sell through for the most part, and they'll sell you that one insurance carrier, and could be in your best interest. It might not be. It's, hard to say, and you have nothing to compare against either. So,
Right.
um, it offers a lot of different options to you. Obviously, what we say in the independent broker space is find your broker that you like, find the broker you trust, and then just let them run your business. Run the insurance side of your business. Let them protect your most valuable asset in life, and make sure that everything that you need is in place. Because you can grow with your insurance broker. You might start, at a smaller size, but over time, your insurance broker should be able to know everything about your business, and they should be able to, if they need to, move you insurance carriers without it being much work for you or much like sometimes you would be concerned that there could be coverage gaps from a move, right? Because
Okay.
so let's say you move from one insurance broker to another insurance broker or another agent. The insurance broker that you've been with for 5 years should know pretty much everything that you have going on in your business. These other people, all they've done is potentially reviewed the policies, and they know what you've told them, right?
Hmm.
They don't know all the different ins and outs and things that your current insurance broker has had to go to bat for you on and whatnot. And they might not know that, like, hey, you need this specific coverage in place that might not be readily evident on the policy. So um yeah, it's super important to get an insurance agent you trust, because in my opinion, it doesn't matter if it's captive or independent. In my opinion, independent allows you a little bit more flexibility, but you just need
Right.
to find an agent that you trust. A good example of kind of what you were talking about between a 1-800 number and having a live person that you talk to and see
Yeah.
potentially on a weekly basis. So we have a member in our BNI group, right? And he received a letter in the mail. It said, "Hey, you're," and I was already actually aware of it before he even received that letter. I saw, "Hey, this policy is being non-renewed," right? So,
Oh no.
yeah, and you're never excited to see that. He had done nothing wrong. There were no claims, nothing that he had done. It's just the insurance carrier had changed appetite, right? And so I sent him an email. I said, "Hey, you're going to get this letter. Just so you know, don't freak out about it yet. I'm talking to my underwriter. I'm going to see what I can do." Think about it if he had, 1-800 service, right?
Yep.
He'd get that letter. It would be, 7 to 10 days before he actually got that letter. So shortened time frame to actually do something with it. He would get that letter. He wouldn't know who to call. He calls the 1-800 number, gets the runaround for a long time. Probably maybe he might never figure out exactly why he's getting
Why?
canceled or whatever.
Yeah.
I was able to send one email to my underwriter. I told my underwriter, "Hey, this is a client that I've had, previously. I know that your guys' appetite changed, but this is an owner occupied building. And so based on your guys' guidelines, that should be acceptable still." And they removed the not renewal immediately. So before he even had to worry about it at all, before he had to do any work, we had already solved this problem for him. Um,
Mm.
that's the kind of service that an agent that you can trust can provide for you. So that's what we try to do, right?
Yeah.
Above and beyond.
That's fantastic. So, how would you recommend a business owner go about finding an insurance agent? Like, where can they, where can
Yeah,
they find someone like you, or because I know you're limited with where you can provide service
sure.
by state or whatever. So,
Yep.
with this being a international podcast, they may or not. So, where could they go to find someone like you?
Yeah, my line. So you have to be licensed in every state that you
Mm.
sell insurance in.
Sure.
Okay. So we are not licensed in every state, like you mentioned. But my line has always been, if it makes economic sense, because we have to pay licensing fees, you potentially have to pay for education inside that state, um, and there are potential other fees that could take place regarding that state. But if it makes economic sense, we'll look at potentially insuring any business in any state. Um, Now, to find an agent that you trust, I would definitely, if you have like a CPA already, if you have a commercial banker, if you have a commercial real estate broker that you've been working with, I would probably start there and ask for a referral from somebody in that space. You could potentially do Google searches, which work, and you can read reviews and stuff. Typically, that should guide you in like a decent way. But in my opinion, a referral from a
Yeah.
business owner, like somebody that you really like hold in high regard and you think is running their business well, ask them who they're using for their insurance agent because um, I mean, if they're running a successful business, they probably have an insurance broker in their back pocket that they trust with everything and consults them well and stuff. So I would say referral is definitely the way to go. That's pretty much how we run our business too. You might luck out, you might get a cold call from an insurance broker. Like that's what I was doing when I was building my portfolio. So there's no guarantee that they're good at what they do. They might just be a good salesperson, but our agency in particular, we try to hold ourselves as, hey, we're insurance consultants. We're not just sleazy salespeople, right? So we want to help you understand what you are purchasing, right? So we
Yeah.
want you to understand your insurance policy in and out to the degree that you want to. If you don't want to understand it, you can just trust us and we'll understand it for you, right?
And that's good because the business owner already is juggling enough
Right.
without having to fully understand every
Yep.
nook and cranny of their insurance policy and coverage, right? As long as they
Mhm.
understand that they've got the coverage they need because the insurance agent has asked them the right questions, so they know that they've got the right
Yep.
coverage. So let's shift into the businesses that are scaling. Because when a business gets started, they're probably, I'm assuming, not going to need as much coverage. Whereas a business that's now growing, they're, growing employees, they're growing the number of clients that they're working with. There's probably other things that I'm not even thinking of because I'm not at that point myself yet for a full
Sure.
on like scale
Mhm.
into 7 or 8 figures yet. But what are the insurance things that people need to know when they're thinking about scaling?
Yeah, no, you're hitting the nail on the head. So we talked about a little bit like the difference between your normal startup policy and your scaled up business. So if you the best way to kind of look at insurance is if your business is making more money, you should probably expect for your insurance costs to rise. There are rare occasions that it doesn't, and that's just because maybe that's a great gross margin or a great operating margin business, right? Or where
Right.
your operating expenses for whatever reason aren't as variable to your sales going up. But if your sales are going up, you should expect to pay more. And the biggest thing that I see for businesses that are scaling up, that becomes a pitfall for them is insurance companies retain the right to audit your business once a year, right? And
Okay.
so they have the ability at the end of every year to send you an audit and say, and you're going to have to report what your gross sales are. You're going to have to report what your payroll is. You're going to have to report how many employees you have. And those are kind of the big things. And then they'll ask you a long list of questions to see if your operations changed at all from beginning of the year to, midterm through the end of the year. And that's the biggest thing I see. So like if you're intending to take a large scale change in your business, one of your phone calls needs to be your insurance agent.
Mm,
Because what they can do is they can do a midterm endorsement, at some point in the year, and they can make sure that your policy is ready to rock and roll for that change, and hopefully get it to where your billing is going to like let's say your payroll increased 100%. That's a
mhm.
lot, right?
Yeah.
You should actually expect your insurance to increase potentially 100% as well, which would also be a lot. Um, but the difference between waiting till the end of the year to report that and reporting it midterm when you're expecting it to happen is your agent could potentially get the bill of that cost stretched out over the course of the next few months until the end of the policy term, as opposed to whenever you do that audit and you report it for the entire year. Not only do you have your normal insurance payments that you're already having to make, you're going to have to make that huge audit payment as well.
Right.
And in some cases, like they'll split out that audit payment and make it smoother cash flow wise. But that's one of the biggest complaints I hear from scaling businesses is, hey, I got hit with this huge audit bill. I don't know why. My insurance agent is just saying that it's owed. Again, I don't know why. I haven't received much explanation. Do I have to pay it? The answer is yes, you do have to pay it.
Yeah.
But there should be a logical explanation to you, and there should be ways for you to get it right. And then, if somebody's coming to me with that kind of it's not a red flag, but it's definitely something that we're going to spend a lot of time on to avoid that from happening this next year,
Yeah.
right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think it's important then, for my audience here, that the what you need to grow community to keep in mind is that, your insurance agent isn't like a once a year phone call, it sounds like. It should be
Right.
someone that you're regularly having conversations with just to make sure that whatever you're doing in your business is fully covered and is going
Right.
to continue to be affordable, and making sure that, they're fully protected, because one thing that we've said from the get-go, from my introduction, of you to the listener, is the fact that they're protecting their most important investment, right? Their
Mhm.
business. And many of us here, our biggest investment is our home. But
Right.
think about it. If you're building a business, that's bigger, because your home isn't going to pay you back. Your business will pay
Right.
you back when you build it and build it right, and are fully covered and protected that way. So that is so good to hear. So let's dig into, so we've been talking a lot about the business development and business protection aspect of your life. Let's get into the personal growth piece, because this show is about both.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you've done for your own personal growth, or books that you've read, or anything that you feel have really helped you grow in your business?
Yeah. Um, So I listen to podcasts a lot. And because I have like a 35 to 40 minute commute to the office every day and then back home, right?
Sure.
If I hit traffic, then it's gonna be really long.
Yeah.
And so I try to listen to business podcasts. I listen to the Journal and the Daily, which can fall in line with business, but also falls in line with just current events in general. And those are
Okay.
done by the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. I've been listening to a guy called George Shanko lately. He's really good, and I mean, me, Jenny. I'm a Christian, and it's something that's important to me, and that's something that he talks about a lot, and how he kind of intertwines that with his life and every different facet of it. And it's been really interesting to hear. And it's something that's been kind of, pushing me in different ways to just hopefully do the same. And also, I told you about F3?
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
It's a
Yeah.
workout group I do.
Okay.
So it's a workout group. It's peer led, which is interesting, and it's always outdoors. And it just gives like guys like me a chance to lead their own group of men in a workout in the mornings. It's I wake up at like my days start with 4. That's what I always say. So I wake up at 4:30 today, 4:45 a.m. Most days. My wife can complain about it sometimes because she's like, "You're waking me up." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I gotta go to my workout."
Yeah.
But it's also like part of that is also like it gives you a chance to lead, and it pushes you into leadership opportunities, right? Um, and it's a lot of like things that guys don't do on the norm. Like I think women are a lot better at kind of talking about their feelings and getting in a group setting and like challenging each other in that way, and guys aren't good at that. And that is part of what this is we're challenging each other to be better men, not only for ourselves physically, but also like mentally, spiritually, emotionally, to our families, to our communities, to our employees at work. Um, and so that's been a huge like personal growth thing for me as well. So those are probably the big three for me right now.
No, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
the I don't think I knew that you were in F3, but I have other friends who I see posting about it from time to time. So you're not
Oh,
alone in
really?
it. Yeah, so I'm aware of it.
That's
Yeah.
funny. I'm gonna have to talk to you about that later because
Yeah.
I always like meeting. I always like meeting them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, some of them you probably know because they're actually one of them is a former BNI member, and one of them's an active BNI member who I
Okay,
see
nice.
posting
I'll,
on social media from time to time
I'll
about
have to hit it.
their
Yeah,
interaction.
you'll have to let me know. I'll hit them up.
I will.
Yeah, I always kind of liken it too. Like, there's something that I don't. Did you play sports, Jenny?
I did volleyball and swim team in
Okay,
school.
so this might hit with you, and I think it will hit with other members of your audience. There's something as soon as you finish high school, that's probably your last chance to compete competitively, you know.
Mm,
But there's also something about being on a team and just like the camaraderie that comes from that, right? And just
yeah.
like doing things together and screwing around and whatnot. And that's something that's been reintroduced into my life through this. Like I'm just with a group of guys and we're screwing around, right?
Yeah.
And like I didn't realize how much I missed it until I actually started doing that. And like, oh my gosh, like man, this is something I really, really missed in my life of just like getting to that's how I start my day is like, yeah, we work out hard and we push each other like I said, leadership wise, but also just screwing around and having fun. And that's like my me time right there. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think that's a really important piece for people to have, business owners to have. You've got to have
For
that
sure.
because it's really easy to be a business owner who has started a business because you didn't want to spend 40 hours a week building someone else's dream, building someone
Right.
else's business, company, whatever. And
Right.
then but as a business owner, we can sometimes get locked into spending 50 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours, 80 hours
Yeah. I know. I know.
building our business, right?
Well, and
And
you
not
just need a
necessarily,
healthy outlet. Yeah.
yeah, not taking care of ourselves. And so knowing that there's something like that available out there, and especially, because spirituality, religion is important, faith is important for quite a
Yeah.
few business owners, knowing that there's something like that available to them is also helpful. So I'm glad you're
100%. And just one, I guess, to tie up that loose end.
sure.
F3 is a guy's thing. There's another thing called FIA, which is it's women. So like guys stay with guys, women, and my wife loves that because I don't go to the gym and work out with anybody else except, the guys. This is
Yeah.
she's like, I don't have to worry about you at all. And well, sometimes you say some weird things around your guy friends, but besides that, I don't care. So I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. No, that's
So
good. That's good.
yeah,
Well, I really want to wrap this up by thanking you for sharing this information because I
sure.
know I learned something, which is saying something because I've been around a bunch of insurance agents for literally 15 years now. I never
Yeah.
had you told me 20 years ago that I'd be spending a lot of time with insurance and financial advisors. I would have laughed you off the face of the planet. I would be like, yeah, right. Why am I hanging out
100%.
with insurance agents? Blah.
Yeah, that is the insurance world. Like you talk about it enough, and I try to make it as fun as possible. But you
Yeah.
talk about it enough, people's eyes just start glazing over, and you're like, all right, it's time to stop talking about
Move,
it.
yeah, move on to something else. But this has been educational, and I really
Good.
hope that the community has found it to be as educational as they might need to, because there may be something that they learned, and hopefully, if they did, they'll reach out to you and at least say thank you. And that's one of the things I
Sure.
regularly encourage my community to do is, what you need to grow community. If you found this to be helpful, please reach out to Michael through LinkedIn, right? Is that your
Yep.
preferred
That's
way?
that's the way to go. Yeah, and I'd type in probably Michael Babcock, Babcock Insurance and Financial Services. I'm not super active on social media, but that's probably the best spot to message me if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, of course, what you need to grow community, I will make sure that the exact link to the correct Michael Babcock is in the show notes. And if you don't know how to get to the show notes, just grab your phone, click on today's episode, as long as you're not driving, and scroll underneath Michael's picture. And there you will see some information, including his LinkedIn link, so you can connect with him. And just send a thank you message. Let him know that you heard him here on the show today. I'm sure he'd appreciate knowing that you learned something new. And if you have questions, if you want to reach out to Michael to see what questions he might answer for you, that will be a great way to do that as well. So before we wrap things up, Michael, is there anything else, last thoughts that you would like to share with our
No,
community?
no, that was awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to everybody and to speak to you. And yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
Awesome. Absolutely. And of course, What You Need to Grow community, as you know, please make sure you join the Facebook community, because there we have extra trainings, extra ideas from a lot of our guests who come in and offer extra deep dives into what their expertise is. So if you're not a part of the community, go join, check that out. And then also subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, because this podcast is all about your growth. So can you help the podcast grow to make sure we can continue putting out episodes for you? So a rate and a review is very helpful on whatever your favorite podcast app may be. So Michael, again, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And What You Need to Grow community, stay tuned, because you never know what you might need to grow.
Thank you for listening to What You Need to Grow. Be sure to follow the show on your favorite podcast platform or subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss a single episode. Want updates straight to your inbox? Sign up at whatyouneedtogrow.com and you'll get notified each time a new episode goes live. Here's to your growth. This has been What You Need to Grow with Jenny Bellinger.